I'm going to go over to Strive now. I think it's almost 1 or after 1 in the morning where Strive is. And today Strive had an emergency, but he made it to join us. So I'm really grateful. I think we're all grateful to you, Strive, for joining us. So what I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about the Caribbean, Africa, and also the developing world and Latin America, and how those countries, what are the benefits for those countries coming together, working together, as His Excellency indicated, as we move exit. I like that term, an exit strategy from COVID-19. So Strive, earlier this month, CARICOM and the African Union had the first summit, which was a resounding success. And I guess the resounding success in terms of hosting the meeting, but I think when the actions come out of that meeting, we'll know if it was a resounding success. This is a step closer to developing South cooperation. The private sector is key to this. I would like to ask you to give your opinion on why this collaboration, why this cooperation is important, essential, and necessary. Strive.
Thank you, and good morning. It is very late here, but I respectfully accepted your invitation to speak. So perhaps let me explain to you my role. The African Union has 55 member states, representing 1.3 billion people. In August 2020, the Union leadership under President Ramaphosa of South Africa took a decision that 60% of the population, 780 million people, must be vaccinated by the end of 2021. The president of Kenya, in its capacity as a co-chair of the CARICOM, insisted that we include the Caribbean members to our initiative, bringing our target to 800 million people. I'm a businessman. I'm not in the Caribbean, but I'm a businessman. I build digital infrastructure across Africa. I own one of the largest telecommunications groups there. The president of South Africa asked me to take up a role as the czar for acquisition of vaccines. So I'm the chief negotiator for the African member states. As the Prime Minister of Guyana rightly pointed out, even with cash in our hands of over $2 billion, we met with all the major suppliers. We represent a significant part of the world's population. But when we met with every single one of the major suppliers who had a functional vaccine in November, December last year, they made it clear that they had no vaccines to sell, which means they had pre-sold those vaccines. Those vaccines were pre-sold primarily to the rich nations. Let's be clear here, because we can go around in circles, but we have to be clear. If we all live in a community and there's one baker and there's not enough wheat, and one guy goes to the baker and takes all the bread for the next season, and then we all have to go to that one guy and beg him to give us bread, and we are grateful when he gives us a loaf. That is not a very functional community, but that is exactly where we are. We do not have access to vaccines, not because we don't have money, but because those are the production assets of vaccines seized them and turned them into their own. The nationalism occurs around production assets. It occurs around the huge pharmaceutical companies who absolutely knew that there was finite, limited capacity in the production of vaccines for 2021. And therefore, to have gone on to sell those vaccines without any commitment to set aside anything for the poorer nations of the world is a very, very sad thing indeed. We as the African countries realized in January, February, that even the commitments around the so-called COVAX initiative were not going to be realized. And so we turned to the only production facility that we have, which is in South Africa. And we turned our attention to that production facility and entered into an agreement with Johnson & Johnson to produce vaccines at that facility. And we started production in June. We are now shipping. We placed an order on that production facility with Johnson & Johnson for 400 million doses of the single-dose vaccine. We started shipping in August. As a businessman, all I can say to you, any Caribbean country which comes to us and asks for vaccines, we will ship to that country because those are my directions. We have started shipping. We have shipped to 9 of your countries in just last month. Most of the small countries, we have actually shipped your full demand to us in one shipment. We can ship to any of your countries between now and December, whatever quantity you want. Let us just move on with this thing, okay? But we can play games, we can talk about summits and so forth, all about next year and so forth. That is not equitable treatment. Equitable treatment was not to line up for donations. Nobody asked for a donation. We had money to buy vaccines, and we were denied that access. I have sat across the table with every single one of these companies and listened to them offer us 500,000 vaccines for a population of 1.3 billion. That is totally shameful. That is why I accepted your invitation so that I could get this message to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Strive. Thank you very much.